Facebook. Yeah, light up my Facebook. Let's not get any rumors started around here. But anytime I see you comment on my Facebook and I read your name, really anytime I see that name that is written down, I always say the name in my head to the tune of Don Williams is Amanda for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the way my head works. Maybe it's the life that gave me all this gray hair hanging from my beard here and on top of my head, too. Look at that. I tell you that. It's a good thing I married a woman who likes a gray-headed man. I'm telling you what. Let's just say I hope that Deidre Snyder never comes across that dude Sam Elliott in person. Okay? I've never been concerned about any improprieties, but if she ever comes across Sam Elliott, that dude's 81 years old, same age as her daddy. Any movie or anything comes on with Sam Elliott, Deidre just gets plumb, I don't know, epileptic. It's really crazy. But yeah, no, anytime I see your name, the name Amanda written down, I say it in my head to the tune of this song right here. See, I can go back and look at your, Facebook, and I'm not sure because I'm not even sure if I know you in real life, do I? I mean, I don't know. I hate to say that because we may have met in real life. We may have worked together. We may have done business together, and I just forgot it. I don't know. I'm getting old. I've raised 5 kids, and I've been married to a crazy woman. She's fine as hell, but she's crazy for 35 years. Fitting to be in April, 35 years. So I don't know if we know each other in person. I look at your Facebook and I see that you live in Grand Bay, so it's possible we went to church together or did business together or something. I don't know, but I know you've been on my Facebook a while, but there's a lot of people on my Facebook that I don't know, like in real life and everything. Usually the people who hate my guts on Facebook, which are my favorite ones, that hate my guts on Facebook, they usually don't know me in person, see? And all they know about me is what they see me put on Facebook, which is, there's things that I certainly believe and everything, but all they know about me usually is that paper thin, surface level part of my worldview, where, I hate women or I hate gays or I hate minorities or some of them, they hate me because they know that I don't hate minorities and they do, so they hate that or, I say things like a single mother can't raise a boy fully into a man. I got a cousin that really don't talk to me because I believe that, but they see those surface level things and they don't really know me in my real life in the things that I do for people. And they've never seen me in action where, even if I have a philosophical difference with someone like LBGT or a single mother or a religious issue, some other political issue, even if I have differences like that, I'm still a very nice fella, like in person. I don't go out of my way to hurt anybody. And even if I disagree with someone philosophically or I disagree with them on principle, I'm still not going to stand by while they are unnecessarily injured or mistreated. There's been many times in my life that I've stood up, risen to the defense of someone that I actually wholeheartedly disagree with politically, socially, philosophically, or whatever, just because, that's just the kind of fella I am, but, most of the people on Facebook that dislike me is because they don't know me in person, and that's just fine. But at any rate, so I can go over it. I can look at your Facebook, Amanda, and I'm guessing, like I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know for sure. But I think just looking at your pictures on Facebook, you may be a member of an era, a certain vintage that would be familiar with Don Williams up here. Amanda, his song, Don Williams. Back in the day when I was young, I really enjoyed Don Williams' music. John Connolly as well. I like me some John Connolly. Some of these guys who were real famous hit makers back in the late 70s and on into the 80s that as country music, thanks to that son of a Garth Brooks, before it transferred over to the pyrotechnics and the screeching guitars, and you know what Alan Jackson and them saying that they committed murder on Music Row, you know, back in the 70s and even into the 80s. 80s was kind of a transitional period for country music, where it was moving more over to what I call Southern pop nowadays. These dudes in skinny jeans with their bleached hair dancing and prancing around the stage, you know. Prior to that, guys like Don Williams and John Conley and those types guys, you know, rose-colored glasses, and Tom T. Hall. I don't know if you remember him. Now, that's getting a little bit older now. That may have been right before. I can't tell looking at your pictures. You can't tell. I don't want to go out on a limb and say, oh, yeah, I know you remember this dude, you know, Red Sovine and stuff. And you think, well, how old do you think I am, Dane? You know, whatever. But yeah, Tom T. Hall, what was it? I heard one of his songs the other day, Old Dogs and Children and Watermelon Wine. Yep, sure did. Tom T. He was quite the storyteller in his songs, you know. Used to be a benchmark of country music, telling stories. Now it's just, as you know, because you follow my Facebook. You may know me in person. I don't know. I'm maybe just having a brain fart here. But as you know, if you're on my follow my Facebook like you do, I am a proud redneck, although I do spell that REDNEQUE. But I am a very proud redneck. But this modern country music that is just like what I call so-called redneck music, I don't care for it. It's like sandbars and pickup trucks and big-breasted women in bikinis and thongs and, you know, let's just get drunk, and, you know. Which back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of country music was about, you know, getting drunk. You know, David Allan Coe and Hank Jr., although when I was young, I wasn't a big Hank Jr. fan. But Hank Jr., George Jones, well known. Hank Jr. and George Jones, probably two of the best known country music artists, alcoholics, the two of them. Johnny Cash had a drinking problem as well, although his music didn't typically carry themes of drinking, you know, like George Jones, you know, the BEERRRUN or BEERR, a beer run, you know, that kind of stuff. At any rate, so it all boils down, Amanda. I'm just saying, I'm not sure if I know you in person or not, but I see you on my Facebook a lot, and you do comment a lot, and we do agree a good bit, although from time to time we will disagree a little bit. And what I want to know is, have you actually gone over to my YouTube channel and subscribed? Because I'm trying to go worldwide here. I'm trying to go worldwide. I'm trying to go platinum. I'm trying to get monetized. And I got every bit, I think, of about 29, 30 subscribers over there on my YouTube channel. Although I haven't really been promoting it. I was just getting started creating content on a regular basis. And Deidre and I caught this doggone, I don't know if it was COVID or what it was, but it hung in here from about the week before Christmas all the way through Christmas, New Year. We're just about over it. Every now and then she and I'll have one of these coughing, choking, hacking fits, you know, but we're just about over it. So maybe I can get back to it. But I mean, look, you got this bullseye. You got this bullseye little icon, whatever you call it. I'm 54 years old. I don't know what you call that damn thing. It's not an emoji, I don't get, because it's not showing any sort of, I don't know. But you got that right there, so you must agree with me. You at least enjoy some of the stuff I post. So why not just go on over there? I'll post the link. I'll comment the link when I post this video. Just go on over there and just subscribe to it. Come on over there. Pretty soon I'm going to start doing some lives, and I'm going to do lives for old people mostly. You know what that means? Like when I go on these debate panels with these other podcasts like Speakeasy and the No Fugazi with David Cooley and stuff, when I go on them debating, man, those people are like vampires. Man, they don't even they're like guys people I've known that were like professional musicians, you know, playing in the bars. And they wouldn't start their set until like 1 a.m. or something, 11 o'clock at night. And then they sleep all day. And then I realized back in the late 90s and early 2000s when I started getting into a lot of computer design and IT work. And that, yeah, I know I'm a redneck. Most people who didn't know me back then, they don't know that I did that kind of work, but I did, that sort of thing. Some database management, IT work, website design, mostly like WordPress and PHP, Nuke type stuff, but it was websites all the same. Got into that, I found out that these computer IT people are the same way. If they don't work for some IT corporation, then they're like vampires. They sit up all night long doing, database management, website construction, and all this kind of stuff. But then they go to sleep when the sun comes up. So you wouldn't think it. Computer people are usually kind of like little nerdy folks. You wouldn't think of them as being night owls, but they do. And I found out that a lot of these podcasters in the manosphere, the conservative, the pro-family type genre on social media, they also, for some reason, I guess they're not like me. They have a real job, so I guess they usually work during the day, and then they do their streaming at night. But then I don't know how they stay up so late and then go to work in the morning. Maybe it's that it would make sense now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe their audience works during the day. Yeah, because we're conservatives. Conservatives have jobs. Well, I don't. Well, I'm a realtor, but I don't punch a clock. I don't go in 9 to 5 kind of a thing, right? So, yeah, that would make sense. People on the left can have their debates and stuff during the day because their audience is usually not working that much. So, yeah, it would make sense that if your audience is primarily conservative, that you would have your streams late at night when your audience is off of work, wouldn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. But at any rate, I'm going to be doing a lot of live streaming, but it's going to be what I call old folk stuff. It's going to be during the day. It is probably like late afternoon, people getting off work. They could, check it out on the way home, or might do one between like 11 and 1. People could check it out. Like, I remember back in the 90s when I was working at English Shipbuilding, if I happened to get sent over to the East Bank, I was a 19 department heavy lift rigger. That's R, rigger, okay? Don't be getting me no strikes, people getting me counseled. Rigger, I was a crane rigger. And in fact, I got sent over there to the East Bank, which back then I thought of it like it was the retirement home in our department. That's where all the old guys were at. We're over there at the East Bank. If I had to get sent over there to the East Bank, come lunchtime, you go in that rigging office, and what do they have on the radio now? Again, looking at your Facebook, I'm thinking that you might be on the tail end of this vintage of person. So you probably remember lunchtime on the radio, what old folk listen to. It was, he'd go, and now in news, Paul Harvey, right? We have his little news thing and everything. I like Paul Harvey, all right, but you would listen to Paul Harvey. So I'm thinking even of doing maybe some streams between about 11 and 1, too, for people that might be on lunch. They may want to check me out. And I'm going to be bringing Deidre in. Yeah, I'll be bringing Deidre in. I've already got the hardware set up, but you know how you women are. Y'all want to do your hair, which I did do my beard this morning. See, I've started using Deidre's. She got a little bit of flat iron, and that don't make me gay, does it? I hope not. Although that change everything. But a little flat iron, So, y'all want to do that. And Deidre, being the woman that she is, such a natural woman, she falls in during the day. She falls into her natural habitat of wanting to clean house, do laundry, sweep, mop, that kind of woman's work. And so getting her in here is a little bit of a problem, but I have it. See, I noticed right here, you see that? I'm going to have to get her in here pretty soon in my office because I see that she's falling behind a little bit on her duties. You see, that couch needs to be, I bought that couch specifically for my office. It's like my backdrop for my studio and my office and stuff. And she keeps coming in here taking naps on it. I mean, coming in here asking me what kind of chores I want her to do the rest of the day. That's what I really meant. But I'm about to get her in here straightened out. I got me a chair back there to match it, see. But yeah, see, like we got a lot of straightening up we need to do in here. I'm probably going to end up doing it because when I tell her to get in here and do a woman's work, she might tell me to go fall in a hole. I don't know. But at any rate, so I've got her set up on that. So I'm going to be bringing her in. I think that people will enjoy that a lot because people who don't know us very well, they typically think that see, this is Deidre's camera right here. I just don't have it. See, she's just not over here. See, this is me. See me. Hey, yeah, hey. That's anyway. Yeah. So I got her camera set up. Right here. I've even got her a mic set up, ready to go. It's just a matter of me getting her in here. It's just the convenience of it all. Let me hide her camera. People get tired of looking at my window. But anyway, so yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm going on and on and on, just to say, go on over there, subscribe. Check out some of the content over there, because if you like the kind of stuff like you commented on right here, there's gonna be more of it over there. But it's just recordings, video recordings like this. But eventually there will be live streams and that sort of stuff. I just got to get it all worked in together, and I got to get on it. And like I said, I was getting started with it. Really, I was getting in that habit and, really strolling along. And then my brother brought home some kind of plague from work. His boss is a real company man. He's been working there. It's like, I guess since Mobile Lumber started or close to it. He's just a real dedicated guy. So he came into work 2 or 3 times and had to go home early, which this guy's real dedicated. I mean, hey, a lot of, I can respect that. I'm not that dedicated, never have been. I'm completely unemployable in that regard, but people who are like that, great. But he started just, hey, I'm sick, I'm staying home. He kept coming in trying to work. He did that 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row. He came in, then he'd go home early and come back the next day and everything. And then he ended up not coming in because he got so sick. Well, by that time, he had contaminated my brother. And then my brother came over to help me around my house here, get my garage cleaned out and stuff. He contaminated all of us here. And so that kind of derailed me. So I'm just now getting back on doing some content here, So anyway, I digress. Go on over there to my YouTube channel. I'll post the link when I post this video on Facebook, and subscribe for me. Help me out, okay? Help me out. Even if you don't go over there and watch my videos that often, at least you subscribe and will help me in that algorithm a little bit. I'm going to be debating a debate with David Cooley this evening, 5 o'clock on the No Fugazi podcast. I don't know if you ever watch his stuff. Black dude, big old bug-eyed, tall black dude, David Cooley. And now I don't know if you ever watch his stuff, but Cooley gets kind of like Andrew Wilson. He gets stereotyped as just being a dating podcast. And they get accused of being red pill, but they're not. They're kind of, there's some overlap with the red pill, and there's some overlap with the manosphere, but they're really not strictly dating, or male-female relationship podcast. They do get into other issues, but if you don't follow their content regularly enough, then all you see are the clips that pop up on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and then you think, well, they're all of their content is just about beating up on whores, and that's not the case. It's just there is some overlap, So I've been going to be actually moderating. Cooley reached out to me yesterday, asked me if I could moderate a debate between him and a Jubilee debater. I don't know if you're familiar with the debate sphere, but there's a channel called Jubilee. And although for me and probably yourself, the term Jubilee carries a certain religious sort of a connotation, when Israel's debts were canceled and land that had been lost was returned back to the family and all that kind of stuff. Or living here in Mobile County, Jubilee probably means, when all of those fish out there in Mobile Bay just suddenly decide that life ain't worth living, and they crawl up on the beach there, and you can just scoop them up, take them home, That may be what you think of as well when you say Jubilee. Well, the podcast Jubilee is not that. It's basically I don't know if you call it lightweight or even might even be heavyweight, but they're left. They're definitely left of center. I think they're further left. And so they'll have like group debates where they'll bring in a whole group of people who basically are on one side of the issue, and they'll have like one guy sitting in the middle, or one person that's opposite, and then that guy will debate those people weren't at the time. They have several different formats they do, but Jubilee itself, they sort of present themselves as a fair and balanced sort of a debate platform, sort of like modern day debate. If you want to go check them out, a modern day debate seems to actually be a fair, balanced, neutral platform. But Jubilee they kind of try to present themselves like that. But their regular Jubilee debaters they bring in are very much left of center. Most of them are far left of center. So anyway, one of those guys that's a regular Jubilee debater is going to be debating David Cooley this afternoon, 5 o'clock our time, 6 o'clock Eastern. Cooley is up in Pennsylvania. And so 6 o'clock, so it'll be 5 o'clock our time. And I'm going to be moderating it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. David Cooley has about 4 million subscribers and followers, or whatever you want to call them, depending on the platform, across all of his platforms, across Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I don't know if he's on TikTok or not. Now that I think about it, I don't know if he's on TikTok. For me, it's a pretty big platform. It's a big enough platform that back during the Trump election, he had some of the Kamala people reach out to him to try to pay him to make certain content to influence his followers towards Kamala, which if they knew very much about David's politics, they'd have known that they was pissing in the wind with that one. But so it didn't work. But it's a pretty big platform. That's one reason I enjoyed going up on this panel. It's a big platform. Plus, it's just a fun experience for me and everything. But it's going to be nice. I'll be moderating this afternoon, 5 o'clock our time on the No Fugazi podcast. I'll share that link as well if you want to check that out. I'll get to boss people around. Well, not really. Moderation is just mainly just like being a traffic cop, making sure they stay on topic, making sure that they don't get hung up, talking over each other. Sometimes the debaters might actually be agreeing but don't realize it, so I can come in and help clarify some of that sort of stuff. But I'm going to be doing that. But at any rate, if you haven't joined up to my YouTube channel, go join up to my YouTube channel. Help me get it together. Maybe eventually I'll get monetized so I can get paid for doing what people usually tell me to quit doing, which is arguing with folks. It's telling them things they don't want to hear. At any rate, man, let me go back over here. Let me see if I can do this. At any rate, here's your comment. This is not the first time this has happened at that place. Talking about the Get Air trampoline park. Was shooting there a few years back too. I don't know anything about that. My youngest baby boy, got a big head, but my youngest baby boy, Jude, he's 24 years old. He'll be 25 here in a couple of months, March. So I guess 3 months, the end of March. Yeah, the end of March. Yeah. My 25-year-old, he was born the first part of March. And then a year later, at the end of March, my 24-year-old was born. So that's my baby. He's 24 years old. He owns his own house up there in Copeland Island here in Grand Bay. Well, he's actually in the edge of the Mobile zip code, the 9-3. But it's culturally, it's Grand Bay, So yeah, he's 24. He works for a living. He's an inside machinist and he's buying his own house. So I'm just saying all that to say this. I am far past the era of Get Air trampoline park. Can you imagine me going to the trampoline park? For one thing, it'd have to be me and Deidre or me by myself. And come on, I'm going to show up at the trampoline park by myself. They call the police on a fella like me. That'd be creepy. And look at me. Can you imagine? Look at all that. Look at all of that. Can you imagine a trampoline that's going to handle me? No, there'd be some first responders there, but it'd be the ambulance. It'll be the ambulance driver and the fireman to get me out of there after I cripple myself on that thing. So as far as that's not being the first time it's happened, there being a shooting there years back, that's not something I'd really be aware of because those type things, I just, whatever. But even if it is a regularly occurring thing and there is a problem with the behavior of the clientele being violent, I'm shooting each other, come on, trampoline park, what the heck? But even if that's the case, it really, I don't think really affects my point of my video that I made, Amanda. And I see that you have the bulls out there that you agree with my point of the video. So I'm not necessarily contraring your comment here, but just for people, other people who may see this video. My point is that I think it's a grave mistake that we make as a culture when we expect what this woman who made the video, right? This woman who made this video is just exemplary. See, I know some big words. I might be a redneck, but that's N-E-Q-U-E, redneck. Exemplary. Hey, I'm very photosynthesis. So she's very exemplary of the dynamic in the culture today with these single mothers and what I say, rogue women, because the nurturing, the understanding, the lack of judgmentalism, the giving the benefit of the doubt, those sorts of things that are the agreeableness that is natural for women in general. And I know you know this, but not all. I mean, there are women who are not particularly fluent in those things, okay? But as a whole, the things that are of the feminine, nurturing, motherly thing are fantastic in their proper place, which is raising children, those sorts of things. But when that gets out of its dominion, its domain, it breaks out of the cage, gets out into the culture and the community and begins to be a foundation for how we are establishing public policy, and not even public as far as governmental or community policy, but how people interact in their social dealings and their expectations of one another as adults, their expectations of one another. And it's governed by that maternal nurturing, kind of thing. That's when we end up with the stuff like we have at Get Air. I drove a school bus for 8 or 9 years. That same thing has happened to the public school system. I would have some heathen, savage child on my bus. And so I'd write them up. They'd do some, I'd write them up. The administration would almost never suspend them off the school bus. Why? Because the Department of Education, they pay out federal education funds per student per day. This is why a student can be a straight A student, but if they miss a certain number of days, they fail the class, or they fail the year, because their actual academic accomplishment is not nearly as important as them warming that school desk every day, because that school desk has a daily price point on it. So that administrator, if he wanted to suspend the student, he would call the student up, and he would call the parent up, usually the mother. I'm not saying that intact homes don't have heathen, savage-ass children, because they do, but typically that student's going to be crazy, like misbehaved, because it's going to be a single mama raising them, you see. So they call up that mama, and they'd say, hey, I got to put, little Johnny or Deontay, whichever the case may be, off of the bus. And she'd go, well, if you're going to put him off the bus, you may as well suspend him from school, because I can't bring him to school myself, and he won't have no way to school. So that administrator would put him in retract, sort of an in-school suspension. They go to a little room and do busy work all day long for a few days. That administrator think he did something, or he wouldn't care whether he did something or not. But what that would end up doing, that would end up leaving him on my school bus acting crazy every day. It didn't help the school bus at all. It didn't help the other students on the school bus. Damn sure didn't help me. But that's what that administrator would do. Well, we'll put him in a retract. Whereas the masculine mind would say, damn the federal aid education money. I mean, it ain't that much money with this one kid. This one kid needs to behave, and this mama needs to do something to get this kid to behave. So we're going to put him out of school. And if he misses too many days of school, well, then we're going to fail the class or whatever. That's the consequences. So that's what the masculine mind would say. These are the rules. You know what the rules were. You disobeyed the rules. Here are the consequences. Now, those consequences also caused you to miss this mark or whatever the case may be. And so there are consequences for missing that mark. And so those are the consequences. You get those consequences too, and right on down the road, because that's real life. But no, the feminine mind thinks otherwise. And so they would put him in retract, and it wouldn't help at all. And it would just get worse and worse and worse. But that's an example of when that mothering, nurturing, trying to negotiate and compromise and persuade and come to an understanding and that sort of stuff would get out of its natural domain, which is the home, and get out into public life and start setting policies or controlling the way the people interact with one another. And that's what you end up with. And that's what's happened at the Get Air, is those kids. They got mama at home, or if dad is in the home, like I said in my video, it's completely neutered. And she runs the house. That's her kids. She'll even say, my kid's this and my kid's that. Rarely do you ever hear a woman refer to our kids, hers and the father's. It's going to be my kids, and everything. So that's what happens is those kids have been taught that it's acceptable to behave however your emotions make you want to behave, you see. Like this whole movement of teach men to cry. If a man's stressed out, he's frustrated, he feels overwhelmed emotionally, teach him to cry, because he can express his emotions, and this will help him and the community. Teach him to cry. See, if you have an emotion, you should express it. So if it's anger, if it's hate, if it's violence, if it's whatever, express that too. When women respond to their emotions like that and they break down and cry, or they're angry, so they throw some kind of what my mama called a duck fit. I'm really not sure what that is, but when they throw them a fit, scream, holler, even if they get physical from their anger, unless they're dealing with children or a very elderly person, it's just a whole bunch of noise, because they lack the force, the physical ability to actually harm people. I mean, unless they have some sort of a weapon and they're really sneaky with it, I mean, there are exceptions, but by and large, women can respond to their emotions however they feel, and it's really not a huge deal in general. But when these kids have been raised by single mothers, Deej and I were talking about this last night as we were getting ready to go to bed. And people who don't know Deidre very well, wait till I get her on stream. I'll get her in these videos, and people will be able to get to know her personality a little bit more. People who don't know her, but people who don't know her very well, like, oh, she's such a sweet little thing. How she put up with dang? She got that little porcelain complexion, and she's 4 foot nothing. She's like 4'11" and everything, and whatever. They've never seen her angry or frustrated, pissed off. Then they think that I'm the crazy one, which she's told people many times. Women have messaged her, for instance, through Facebook, asking her if she was okay. Do you need any help? Because I'm such an abusive misogynist, And she's responded to him and said, if you don't like my husband, you damn sure won't like me, because he's the same one in the family, which is true. At any rate. But even like Deidre might get angry, especially back in our young days. That mama, she get angry, man. Whew, man, wow. It was like a honey badger. But there'd be times when we were raising kids that she would be upset. She'd be chewing the kids out or something. And they would get to a certain point where I had to say, okay, that's enough. It's time to hush. I understand what you're saying. You got a point, but you're going overboard. Chill the hell out. And then sometimes she might have something back to say to me, and then she and I would engage, and then what would end up happening, she'd end up shutting the hell up and going on about her business. Okay. Now take that scenario and you remove Big Daddy. or you remove the daddy. Or the daddy is present, but he has been neutered. Not just because she's neutered him, but the culture in general has taught him that he should behave in a certain way with his wife so that she feels, supported and respected and all this kind of stuff. So she just has just an open gate, just carte blanche, just a blank check. She could just indulge her emotions and throw her duck fit and bounce off the walls or whatever. And then those children, even, they might see that she interacts with their father, whether they're married or not, in the same way. And then they learn that, well, hey, that's the way, that you should. It's acceptable for you to behave. It's just to indulge your emotions and to have your say. I'm going to have my say. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind, as if she can actually spare it. But I'm going to have my say. I said what I said. And that kind of silliness. And that is the theme of behavior in the community with these young people. And then they go to the little trampoline place. I don't know what the cause of the conflict was, which my understanding is the young people who were engaged in this altercation were females, which is crazy. Because in my day, and again, look at your Facebook, I can't really tell what generation you fall into, but I think we're sort of close because, the older you get, the younger people get. When you're, 26 and they're 20, that's two different life eras, right? You're like, man, he's 20 years old, man. He's a kid. But, 6 years different. But if you're, like, I'm 54, so someone with the same age gap, when I was 26, they were 20, and now I'm 54 and they're 48. Well, now we basically the same age, 48 and 54, man, we the same age, because we're basically the same era, looking back. Every time I say that, looking back, I hear Teddy Pendergrass in my head. Just like Don Williams, maybe I'm autistic, I don't know, that would explain a lot. But yeah, just like Don Williams, when I hear Amanda or I read Amanda, I sing it in my head. When I go to say looking back, I think of Teddy Pendergrass. So looking back over the years, I guess I shed some tears. Anyway, R&B is the way my head works. Sorry, but anyway, but looking back, because they were, 20 and 26, were like two different eras. When I was 26, that 20-year-old was the 90s. So that was, I thought of that as like a kid. They would just get started in adulthood. But now if I look and I'm 54 and they're 48, we the same age. So I really can't tell, look at your Facebook, whether or not we're in the same, how close we are in age. But in my day, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say in your day, girls didn't behave like that. I mean, we had the occasional gal in school that was scrap, fight like a man sometimes, whatever, but by and large, girls were not physically violent like that. But, again, like I said in my other video, you had daddy in the home, you see, and you had daddy in most homes to one degree or another working to kind of mitigate that emotional impulsiveness of mama. But women have been liberated from those restraints. They've been liberated from that governorship, that check valve in the system, that circuit breaker, to where now they can just short out and they just burn the house down. All in the name of her being happy. Yeah, but she deserves to be happy. So here we are. So at any rate, I don't doubt what you're saying, that this place may have been known for this before. I'm not familiar with it at all. But I mean, my point still remains, and I know you understand this because you got the little bullseye, whatever little thing up there in the corner, or whatever. But the point still remains that what we need to do is not what this woman in the video said, because I digressed from it, but she's exemplary. She exemplifies the fact that these single mothers, even if she might be married, I don't know, but in general, these single mothers who they raise their children up and they allow them to be controlled by their emotions like that, you see. And then they want to send those kids to school like they did with me when I was driving a school bus, or they want to send them to the trampoline park or wherever the case may be. And then when their child rearing, their over emotional, hyper emotional impulsiveness and indulging of their animalistic primal emotional drives end up with violence, then these single mothers and the people who agree with them, the men who agree with them, they say, well, they need to have more security. They need, and that security, in this case, would be a private security, a company or whatever. But the security ends up being some version of law enforcement, policy enforcement, police policy. You see, that's kind of the same word. It's when they say this private business needs to hire more security guards to control my kids, that eventually, when those kids get old enough, or even the age they are, if they're not in a private business, but they're out in the public square, is the police. So what they're saying is, I'm going to raise my child, and I'm going to allow my child to indulge their emotions and let their emotions control their behavior. I'm not going to set that concrete barrier like the Bayway going across Mobile Bay has those concrete barriers there between you and the water. And nobody is crashing up against those barriers as they go across the bridge. Not ordinarily. But could you imagine trying to drive your car across the Bayway and that barrier not being there? If it was just that concrete road bed and then like some sort of a pier or something, and there was no hand guardrail, no concrete barrier. There was just the level of the roadway of the Bayway and then a drop off to the bay. Can you imagine how anxious that would make you drive across the Bayway without that concrete barrier? Well, that's what a lot of these single mothers are doing. My single mama didn't. No, my single mama, now, she would open a incendiary can of wolf ass on me and my brother. Mostly my brother, because he was hard-headed. And I may have set Justin up a few times in my life, maybe, but whatever. But so my mama and some single mothers out there, they have the wherewithal to stand up and bring the hammer down on them kids, but that's the exception to the rule. For the most part, in their families, that guardrail that daddy offers is not there. And so those kids are driving across the Bayway and they got no guardrail. I mean, they have mama saying, don't get too close to the edge. You better not drive off into the bay. That's going to be bad. Don't do that. Get back from the edge. But there's no real concrete barrier for those kids to run into if they get too close to the edge to where they learn their lesson. So what these people are saying, who are saying that get air trampoline place, whatever you call it, well, they need to have more security. What they're saying is, I don't need to provide the barriers and the boundaries and the consequences and the discipline at home to teach my child to act like a civilized human being, like they have good sense, even if they have to fake it. No. I'm going to let my child enjoy themselves. They're just going to be happy. They're just going to indulge their emotions. They're going to be, you do you, boo. You just do you. I said what I said and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to let them live like that. And then when they get out in public, whether it's the public square or some private business, and they act up or act crazy, well, I'm going to expect the community or the business owner to bring in people with the nightsticks and the handcuffs and the stun guns and the pepper spray, the OC spray and that kind of stuff. And I want them to come be the barricade and the barrier to teach my heathen ass child the lessons that I should have taught him at home. Because I want to be their friend. Back in my days in the 90s and early 2000s when I was doing a lot of work with young people and youth as mentoring and youth pastor and that sort of stuff, I can't tell you how many times that there'd be some teenage gal get pregnant and I heard her say, well, I'll finally have somebody to really love me. All that silliness. So they got them kids at home and they're got a friend. I now finally have a friend, somebody who will really love me. So they're not wanting to put that hand on them. They're not wanting to hold them ultimately accountable. And then they let them out, they release them onto the public, and then they want to turn around and say, well, get air trampoline place or whatever. They need to have more security. They're responsible for disciplining my child when I won't discipline them at home. Somehow or another, it's the community's responsibility. And then when their child ends up, because when those big guys with the blue lights show up, they engage with those children. Now those children, if they're not already in the system, now they're a part of the system. Whether they go into a Strickland Youth Center or whatever the case may be, whether it's a citation and then there's consequences from that, whatever the case is, even if those children are trespassed from Get Air, to be legally trespassed, there's still documentation filled out with those kids' names on it. And all of that is put into a database, you see. So those children are becoming part of the system. They're getting involved in the system. And many of them end up, now this is going to make me sound like one of these more Democrat, left-leaning people, but the fact of the matter is, there is a high school to prison pipeline, okay? Because slavery is still legal in this country. Go read the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment has a little caveat carved out that says, except for incarcerated people. So people in prison can legally be worked like slaves, and it doesn't violate our Constitution because they're incarcerated. So there is, in many ways, a high school to prison pipeline set up. You see? So that's what happens. So that's why I'm saying, no, we don't need more police presence, whether it's the actual Mobile Police Department or whether it's some security company. Because all that security guard's going to be able to do is the same thing that any other adult present can do, and that is talk to them, correct them, tell them not to do stuff. Well, that kid's not going to listen. That kid needs more security. Well, when that security guy says something to him, they're not going to do nothing. They're not going to change. And then what's he going to do? Now he's going to try to kick him out, lay hands on that kid, and then watch that mama show up want to sue you because you done assaulted their kid. See, so what's the security guard going to do? Going to call the police. And then what's the police going to do? Now they're getting into that high school to prison pipeline. It's just when it makes so much more sense to just back up. And I know you agree with me because I see your little bullseye, but this is not just for you, all right? This is for people that might watch the video as well. If they've listened this long, so much better if we restore that patriarchy. We get daddy back in the home. And not just that, we get daddy in that masculine mindset back in control of the community, setting the policies, setting the way that we raise children, setting the ways that we deal with marriage. Let's get rid of no-fault divorce. Let's get rid of it. Well, but I'm not happy. I got married too young. I don't feel fulfilled. Well, that ain't adulthood. Adulthood has to do with duty. You made a promise. You have children. When you leave that husband, you are making those children exponentially more likely to every social pathology that we have, like what gets us down there at the little trampoline park, you see. So, ma'am, which is most of the no-fault divorce people, ma'am, it's not about your happiness. It's about your duty. It's about what you owe your children. It's about the vow you took to your husband in front of your family and in front of God. It's not about your happiness. Let's get back to that. Let's get the patriarchy back in place in the home and in the community and leading these children. And then places like Get Air, they won't have to have the first security guard. Why? Because they'll have daddy. And I'm Dane.